What is your worst experience of waking up after a one night stand? Removed. She wanted me to stay for the night. I didn't want to, but I did. I woke up in the middle of the night and tried to sneak out just to find out the door was locked. She woke up and asked me where I was going. Water was the only thing that came to mind. She walked with me to the kitchen, walked with me back to the room, and locked the door again. Woke up between a young, married couple I met at the bar the night before. I spent the morning awkwardly being shown their wedding photos from just 3 weeks prior. When it was time to politely jet, I couldn't find my other sock, at which point the husband excitedly shouts souvenir. Woke up on the other side of London pretty happy with myself, until I realized all I had to wear was a Tiger Onishi. No shoes, not t-shirt, just boxers and a Tiger Onishi. Going through London rush hour in a Tiger Onishi with the remains of tiger face paint was interesting. The previous night was Valentine's Day. I had just been dumped by a long-term boyfriend. I was drunk in Walgreens looking at the flowers and chocolates thinking about my ex. I then decided it would be a good idea to buy him a balloon and some flowers and leave it outside his house. Because these are the kind of brilliant ideas I get while drinking. Got outside, let go of the balloon, and it flew away. Started crying. Some dude in his car asked me what was wrong. Woke up next morning. He started telling me about how he was trying to be a rapper. Made me listen to some really bad stuff he had wrote. I had to get out. Get up to leave. Tells me I have to wait until his grandma leaves the house to play bridge with her buddies. Because he lives with her, since he can't afford to live on his own. I finally get to leave after a couple hours of extreme uncomfortable and awkward feelings of regret. As I walk out, I see his grandma had put the flowers I bought in a vase on the table. It was after a Halloween party one night in college. I went home with a girl back to her place. My buddy who was with was completely wasted, so he came with to pass out on her couch. I woke up at about 5 in the morning to him at the foot of the bed pissing on it and on our feet. I said name WTF and kicked him in the leg, to which he just sort of turned and continued to piss on the floor. He then crawls into bed on the other side of her. She was still passed out, so I didn't know what to do. I couldn't get him to wake up, so I thought I'd try to just fall back asleep, and if she woke up, I'd act just as surprised as she was. I tried curling up into a ball to fall back asleep, but with the foot of the bed covered in piss, him sleeping on the other side of her and me being tall, it didn't happen. I pretty much laid there for a good hour or two. The other guy was my ride, so I couldn't just get up and leave either. He eventually woke up after pissing himself again in her bed, looked at me. WTF happened? I was like, dude, you pissed everywhere. He got up and went back to the couch, and she woke up pretty much right after. I was pretending to be asleep, and she felt the wetness around her and woke me up confused as all hell. I played dumb as best as I could. She was putting her nose into it and everything, trying to smell what it was, and since it was straight booze it didn't have really any odor. She was questioning if her cat peed or what had happened, and I just acted as confused as could be as well. I felt bad, but couldn't tell her the truth as we kind of knew each other and had some mutual friends. My friend and I left pretty quickly after. He was super embarrassed around me for a while after. Came home with a girl from the bar. We were both trashed. Had sex. Her dog watched. She vomited on me while performing oral sex. Cleaned up as best as I could before passing out. Woke up in the morning to her mom attempting to come in, asking who was in her room. She said no one. Go away before telling me that I couldn't leave until her parents left for work. No way in hell I was staying for 2 hours with puke dick. I climbed out her window on the 2nd floor and jumped off of the roof, stuck the landing, and jogged away down the street into a cul-de-sac. Turned around to get out, and her mom is on the front lawn in a bathrobe staring me down holding her morning coffee. Walked to a gas station where a friend picked me up. Edit. Oh. And I got chlamydia. TLDR. Took a puke covered walk of shame past her mother. I was house sitting for my dad who was out of town for a week. Had a girl over who I've known for 6 years, and my dad was pretty involved at my old high school, so he knew her too. He came home a day early and found us both naked in my old bed. He thought it was hilarious. The girl and I were both mortified. Hope he chased it with a dad joke to break the tension. Well, I hope I'm the only one who came early. Apostrophe. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I leave you with a quote from poet emeritus Tonelock. Hey you too. I was once like you, and I like to do the wild thing. Apostrophe. We spent the night together at a party. We woke up reminiscing of the night before. He walked to the gas station to get us drinks and snacks. I had bubble guts, so I farted one time. It smelled like death. He came back maybe 10 minutes later and it still reeked, and he started yelling about dog shit. Woke everyone in the house up. He still doesn't know it was me. Woke up next to my one night stand. She had pissed the bed. There were a total of 9 people in the house, only the 2 homeowners knew each other. Everyone else were total strangers. Come to find out I'm in a different state, which to be fair is only like 2 hours away from where I live. I had to sit around in soaked clothes with a bunch of strangers while my friend came and picked me up. He made me put on a trash bag in his car lol. A guy I took home from a bar, whom I had previously met before multiple times, left $200 on the bedside table. I found it when I woke up. Attached was a note that just said thanks. I'm not a hooker by any means and didn't perform anything out of the ordinary. It was weird, but it paid my electric bill, so I didn't complain. I served in the US Navy, and on one of our visits to Singapore I met a girl at a club called Fire. I think that was the name. Woke up at her apartment in the morning, about 2 hours from the time my ship was set to depart, after having spent all my cash the night before. No idea where I was, and no idea how I would get back. As I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, one of the other guys from my ship called the girl. It turns out that they were friends and he saw me leave the club with her the night before. He had a taxi meet me at her place and got me back to the ship in time. Woke up to a bunch of Snapchats of my penis from the girl I slept with. She put a couple of them on her story. I guess she did this when I was asleep. Edit. We were pissed drunk the night before. Like the chick was still next to me when I was checking the Snapchats. I woke her up and had her delete them. Wasn't anything malicious. Sex was good though. This girl's parents came home a couple days early, and in the morning I was sleeping with her in her room with a couple alcohol bottles surrounded the bed with an ashtray filled with weed, and a couple of roaches in there too. Well anyways, parents came home and went upstairs. Was completely naked with no covers on, and they just see my schlong just out in the open. I thought her dad was going to beat my ass. Probably the most awkward thing to ever happen to me. Basically, a day after going too hard at a certain beach music festival, I woke up in a really sandy and glittery pull-out couch bed in our condo that I was sharing with my older brother, an older family friend, and their friends, with a guy I barely knew who happened to look exactly like Mac DeMarco. I was horrified because it all came in flashbacks. This very loud hallway bathroom of our condo sex encounter of the fourth kind. He drank like half a handle of our liquor and I remember him peeing/throwing up at the same time after us doing the deed and then falling into the bathtub. He also threw up on the floor and on my bag next to the couch. Of course. He woke up and didn't remember a single thing. I honestly felt so bad for him and ashamed that I did that in front of my fam, that I took him to Waffle House and hung out with him at the beach. Needless to say, not my proudest moment, more like my worst moment. Edit. Just thanks for all who made this my most upvoted comment. I'm glad I can share this small misery with my fellow redditors. Back when I lived with my dad, I took home a friend's sister from the bar. Pretty messed up. Don't remember much. We were awoken by 4 guys with guns drawn yelling at us to get out of bed. Turns out I was being raided by the friendly local drug task force. Sitting on the couch with my dad and this chick, whose name I could barely remember, while they tore up the house was interesting. We all ended up getting arrested, and I haven't talked to her since. She tried to add me on FB a couple years ago. I guess I made a good impression. Edit. To anyone who was following this, I requested more info from local clerk of court. I didn't get much. The arresting report is only available for me and doesn't specify what the chick's specifics, and her info has been taken down, sealed or expunged maybe. but I did find that she had arrested F/POS schedule for substance, and then her final outcome was null/no info POS/TIE. If anyone can interpret that better than me, be my guess, but it looks like whatever the charges, they were no infant in the end, so she got off. This was a Craigslist hookup when I was 22, just starting to cross-dress. Went over to this guy's house after texting him for a few days. Nice house on the north end of town. He's 30 and we smoked a lot of weed, and he ducked me stupid in about 3 different rooms. I did not plan on falling asleep there at all. I wake up at 10 in the morning. I'm still wearing my white thigh highs from the night before and my white crop top. No panties. I'm in his bed and he's not anywhere to be found. I find my phone and my sneaks and my panties. Put my sneakers on, and I'm just walking around this dude's house looking for my boy clothes. It's a 2-bedroom, so it's not like it's a mansion. He lives alone, so the house was really clean, which was somehow more frustrating cause it was so much quicker to search every room multiple times for my clothes and wallet. Around 11 o'clock I notice that my phone is about to die. I start texting my roommate, "I'm just gonna come clean," to my best friend about my whole lifestyle and all of this shit. And as I'm typing out this confession of me being a sissy and needing a ride home from a hookup, my phone dies. I start crying, and I'm just like wandering the house, and suddenly I bump into this sliding door I hadn't noticed before. It's a ducking laundry room. My goddamn clothes are folded on the dryer. My wallet and keys are placed neatly next to them. I swear I have never felt such sudden and gratifying relief in all of my life. Woke up alone before dawn inside a beautiful house with no furniture. The fact that it was such a big house made it even more unnerving that it was empty. As I slowly walked through the house to find where this person went, the large blank rooms began to fill with the pre-dawn bluish light reminiscent of sci-fi movies. I started to become nervous and returned to the now illuminated bedroom. The only place in the house that even looked remotely lived in was the bedroom, which of course had a bed. But now that I could see better, I realized what else was in the room with me. Fucking hundreds of Diet Pepsi cans. Just Diet Pepsi cans stacked from the floor up, row after row, lining the walls. Now I could see there was a dresser in there with cans stacked on top of it. Every corner. The window ledge. That's when I looked closer and realized they were empty cans. Meaning this person wasn't collecting them for monetary gain or anything. Just drinking and stacking them, I guess? Question mark? So yeah. No note saying how to lock up or a phone number. Just cans and an empty house. I walked out the door and drove back into town. Creeps me out to this day. Edit. Just found this person on Facebook. Considering sending a message to ask what the duck is with Pepsi cans, since I never asked. Not sure how to word it. Edit. Thinking what's with the soda can house is the funniest way to ask so far. Ended up real drunk with my best girlfriend, and we get back to her place after ruining our lives at a local bar. Her brother who came along was also drunk, and she convinced me to sleep in his bed with him. Turns into him not knowing how to remove a bra. Him not being able to perform. With me ending up leading the show. 2 minutes of riding, he cries out, sounding like a wild boar, and comes all over everything. Wake up the next day, no idea where my clothes are. Full of dread. Skip ahead. Get home. Covered in horrendous hikeys. Super frowned upon at 22, so I can't avoid admitting that I was a brother ducker. Skip ahead. 8 months later, I'm even horrified admitting this anonymously. TLDR. Don't duck your best friend's brother. Edit. Grammar. Not me, but happened to a friend. Drunk girl comes barging into his dorm room. Clearly not sure where she is. Yelling for some guy who doesn't live there, and proceeds to fall asleep in my bro's bed. He proceeds to pick up his Gamma Boy and plays games all night until she wakes up the next morning very confused about what had happened. In college, I was working on a project with a guy in my class, and we decided to work on it on the floor of his room in his fraternity house. I know what you're thinking. But no, we were just friends. Plus, he was the president and had the largest room in the house, and therefore a very large floor space. Anyway, some drunk chick comes bursting through his door and starts yelling at him that he's cheating on her with me. They weren't dating, but apparently they had hooked up in his room the night before. After a few minutes of babbling, she decided to take all of her clothes off, right in front of us. She continued to talk and walk back and forth until she got sleepy and laid on his sofa, still naked. I saw her again several months later at a bar, and I reintroduced myself. She didn't remember me or that night at all, but she apologized profusely and told me how embarrassed she was the next morning when she woke up on his sofa. We are still good friends to this day. Woke up alone and naked in my bed. Figured you'd left. No big deal. Suddenly had terrible, horrible, awful, intense stomach cramps. Got up to go to the bathroom. Had to run with my hand cupped under my ass to avoid getting shit everywhere. Pro tip: don't do this. Shit gets everywhere anyways. No use getting it all over your hands too. Close bracket. Anyways, liquid shit exploded out of my ass for a good 15 minutes. Was sitting on the toilet grateful dude had left and wasn't there to witness my horrible dreaded ass pissing episode. Got it all out. Took a shower. Went back to my room to find the huge brown puddle in my bed. We fell asleep spooning. Dude was the big spoon. Needless to say, we never spoke again. TL. Doctor probably shat on a dude in my sleep. Edit, of course. This is my highest voted comment. Fuck. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.